right, hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Facilitating Risk Management for Medical Devices within Azure DevOps. Thank you for taking the time out today, sorry about that, and being here today. Today's webinar is all about exploring how to manage risk analysis by using the different capabilities of modern requirements. If you've joined our webinars before, you know the general format, but for those of you who are new here, I'll spend a few brief moments on some housekeeping items. Just go to the next slide. Today's speakers include myself, Ambreen, as your host and moderator, Bob Savelson, our SVP of Sales and Marketing, Mao, our Customer Success Consultant, and Asif, Chief Technologist here for the Q&A portion of today's call. Before we begin, we will be sending out the webinar recording afterwards via email, and then it'll be available on our website. We will also have some time towards the end for questions. So if you have any of those, please drop them in the question box, either during or after the presentation. And lastly, we'll have a feedback survey, so please complete that afterwards. It always helps us to improve these webinars moving forward. And just before I hand it over to Bob, if you are interested in a free 30-day trial, please visit the link on the screen. We'll also drop it in the chat section, so you can click that link at any time. All right, over to you, Bob.
Good day, everyone. It is great to connect with many of our existing clients today, and I'm pleased to see many new participants as well. I'm sure everyone in the Northern Hemisphere is looking forward to spring just around the corner, and here in Toronto, we're seeing the first signs of it with warmer weather and melting snow, so I'm excited. I want to create a little bit of background to the topic and explain at a high level how modern requirements for DevOps helps our clients in managing risk in an automated manner in Azure DevOps. We have been a Microsoft Gold Certified partner for over 10 years now. And just this month, our listing went live in Microsoft's Azure Marketplace, providing an additional convenience for our clients. Before we discuss how to better manage risks, let's get on the same page regarding what risk is and the types of risk that are regulated by the FDA. I'm sure many of you already know more about managing risk than I'll ever know, so I won't dwell on the definition. But as I'm sure many of you know, the FDA classifies medical devices into 3 categories, and each has its own level of risk management. Many types of risks are identified within organizations and managed. Today, we're focusing on technical risks specifically. And really, there are 3 types of technical risk: the known risks, which are obvious, the unforeseen risks, and then the challenging one is the last one, the unknowable risks. And that's pretty tricky. Like, for example, today's pandemic environment is a prime example of an unknowable risk. In working with our many clients in medical devices, we've learned that most manage risk today in spreadsheets. While these are fitting the purpose to have your products approved in a timely manner, I'm sure you will agree that this manual process is really not terribly efficient, and as well is very time-consuming. Modern requirements for DevOps supports a growing list of industry standards. And Mao will be focusing on the risk standard, ISO 14971, during this webinar. However, I'd like to point out that our tool helps clients manage risk and hazards in many other industries in addition to medical devices. For example, pharmaceuticals, automotive, and avionics are prime examples of industries and companies that also have to manage risk and comply in a regulated environment. A little bit about our tool. Our tool is browser-based and can be installed on-premise or in Azure DevOps in the cloud. It has a zero footprint on the user's desktop and is built into your Azure DevOps user interface. And it inherits any process template you have, including the compliance process template that we built in collaboration with our medical device clients to help manage risk. Our tool has several layers of functionality, as are shown in this slide, and modules like Smart Docs, Smart Reporting, Review Management, Trace Analysis, Baselining, FAQ, and MatCal can all be used in support of the automated management of risks in modern requirements. The MatCal feature that's shown at the top of this slide was released mid last year, and it is available in our Enterprise and Enterprise Plus license editions. In summary, Modern Requirements provides many features to automate your requirements management workflow and provide the analysis and reporting you need during your product lifecycle, all in Azure DevOps. The results and the value to be realized are listed below in the 3 bullets. And our clients have continually reported back to us their experience in shortening their cycle times and reducing their development rework. So at this point, we would like to ask a few polling questions to better understand our audience before we move into the demonstration. And I will turn this over to Ambreen, who will conduct the poll questions with you.
Actually, hey guys, this is Asif. I'm going to do the polling questions today. So there are 2 questions. So the first question you see on your screen is, which tool do you use to manage your risk analysis? Do you use spreadsheet or use some other approach? And about 60% of you use spreadsheets, 40% use some other method. We'll go to the next question. What are the main pain points of managing risk using your current process? And there are 5 choices in there. And so basically, we've got people rating each one of these, but building links among different parameter fields seems to be the highest. Documenting and reporting on risk is the second one. And establishing risk management workflow is the third most popular one. All right, so that's for risk management and polling. I will hand this over to Mao now.
All right, so let me share my screen. Hold on, share screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure. So hello everyone, this is Mel from Modern Requirements. So the intent behind risk management is to evaluate and mitigate potential product issues. And now I want to show you how to manage risk in a systematic process by using modern requirements, including process that you can establish to analyze, control, and monitor risk all in your Azure DevOps environment. So first, we can outline the process template. We can outline the process of how you will conduct risk management for a particular device. So at MR, we use a process template to define all risk-related work items. So for example, in this project, I use the compliance template to manage my hazard risk, FMEA risk, and also the risk control measure and some other types of work items. So now let's open up a work item and we can see all the attributes here. Oh, by the way, let me use a full screen here. So those attributes are fully configurable and customizable according to your risk management roadmap. So for example, who does when and what, and how risk can be classified. And also we can identify a sequence of events, hazardous situation, harms, and acceptance in a single work item type. So in addition to the hazard work item, which is a top-down risk analysis required by ISO 14971, we have another work item type called FMEA. So FMEA stands for failure modes and effects analysis, which is a bottom-up approach for identifying functionality and risk. So you can use FMEA to identify what component can cause which failure. And most of our medical devices clients use both approaches for a single device. However, if you are using FMEA only for your risk management efforts, you are not meeting the intent of ISO 14971. So in this webinar, we will mainly focus on the hazard risk analysis, which is a top-down approach. And of course, there are some other work item types you can use, or you can always create your own work item types. And if you would like to use this compliance template with all the work item types and attributes in your project, you can just email us at info.modernrequirements.com and we're happy to assist. And now I'm going to show you a risk analysis workflow. And starting from there, how can we document, review, report, and baseline, and also check the completeness of your analysis all in modern requirements? We know that there's a strong connection between your device's design input and the risk management. Once you know how the product is intended to be used, you can start to identify the potential source of hazards. So normally there's a sequence of events that could lead to a hazardous situation where people are exposed or might be exposed to hazards, and the probability of that is P1. And after that, what is the probability of harm occurring for a given hazardous situation? That is P2. And then P1 and P2 will determine the overall probability of that harm. Then we can assign a severity of that harm, and then the initial risk or the risk evaluation will get calculated. So as you might notice that some fields are labeled as auto. So here at Modern Requirements, we use MathCal to do risk score calculation automatically. MathCal is a feature of performing mathematical and logical expressions on work items. So you don't have to do the calculation manually or in a separate tool. This is one of our clients' favorite features. So to know more about this MathCal, you can simply go to the resources tab of our website or simply contact us. This is a relatively new feature, like Bob mentioned. So if you're existing clients with enterprise or enterprise plus licenses, we're happy to help you enable the MadCal feature in your environment. And also, by the way, the calculated result is read-only, which means unless you change the input, nobody can manually overwrite the auto-calculated results. This is for safety reason, just to make sure no incorrect numbers will be introduced to your risk analysis. According to the standards you are complying or your risk management plan, you need to define which risk level triggers risk mitigation and reduction, which is the step of risk controls. We must specify what are the risk control measures against this hazard item. So here are two approaches we can use. So first, we can just add the risk control part directly in this work item. Or we can use link to linked RCM work items. And as you see that we have some different link types here. So this hazard work item is linked, is used in a document and addressed by two RCMs and also referenced by some other analysis and work items. The best practice we recommend here is actually using the second approach, since there could be different types of RCMs in different priorities. So for example, RCM as inherent product design or preventative measures in the product and labeling. And also it is easy to link multiple risk controls to a single hazard work item. And then your RCM could be further linked to your upstream design requirements. For example, your user needs or system requirements, and all the way to test cases to demonstrate traceability from your hazardous situation to risk controls, and which later on I'm going to show you in the traceability module. So now that the risk controls are implemented and validated, we need to evaluate the risk again, which is a residual risk part. So hopefully after the RCM, things could become better and we can have a lower probability or severity. And of course, MadCal will do the job again to get the final risk evaluation calculated automatically. And then for individual risk, you can assign the acceptance based on your acceptance criteria. And again, this could be an auto process handled by MadCal, or you can just do it manually based on the acceptance criteria you have defined. So this is a sample risk analysis, and some of our clients have very complex sequence of events input, or have the probability or severity as numerical input, or actually have a formula to calculate the acceptance failure rate. There might be some complex or very complex mathematical calculations involved. So no matter which situation it is, MadCal can handle that very gracefully. So the point is, we will work with you for your risk management planning to streamline and automate your risk analysis in a robust and scalable environment. So after the individual risk analysis is ready, what we can do next is to document your risk analysis and do further overall risk analysis by using SmartDocs. SmartDocs is used to bridge the gap between requirements management and document creation. It is a comprehensive requirements documenting and authoring tool. So here I have a few SmartDocs. So for example, in this one, I have summarized the hazard work item and their linked RCMs. As you see that it offers you a document view of your work items. And of course, in addition to that, SmartDocs offers a lot of other features. So for example, you can double click and edit this document in a Word-like edit mode. And of course, you can make change on the fly, and all the changes will be synchronized everywhere across the platform. And also the version management, all the changes made to the document will be captured and compared. So now I'm comparing two versions of this document so I can see what changes have been made. So you can document the history of your risk management. And in addition to that, you can export the document to a Word or PDF format. And also you can send this document for a review directly from here. So this is actually the Part 11 e-signature compliant. And we understand that for your devices, some documents can be reused. So at MR, we offer different approaches of reusing your work items or documents. For example, you can create a library of some hazard work items or analysis that can be shared across your projects. So when you create a new project, you can simply copy that document. And so we call this approach reuse by copy. And another one is you can, for example, create an RCM library and have a centralized place to manage them and simply reference different RCMs in different projects. So for example, if I open up this RCM1 work item, and I can see this work item is actually referenced in the hazard work item in another project and in some other documents as well. So for those who are not very familiar with Smart Docs and work item reuse, you can always find good resources under the resources tab of our website. So after you identify individual and overall risk, it is still possible that you will have some risks that are still in the unacceptable level. So in these cases, you might want to conduct and document a benefit risk analysis. So here we have a benefit risk work item. So you can do your analysis here. You can include paragraphs, tables, images, and also attachments. And also you can invite different stakeholders to comment on the benefit of this device. And you might have noticed that we can have built-in diagrams directly in this Smart Docs. So you won't need a third-party tool to do your diagramming. So in your risk management planning process, your team needs to decide what types of documents needs to be generated at what point in time. And after that, we can use this smart report feature to generate a document report. So the format of this document is highly customizable, which means you can configure which attributes to show and what style you want to apply. And then you could further save this document or report to a Word, PDF, or HTML format. And what I also want to mention here is that if you're currently doing your risk analysis in Excel, migrating your data to MR is a breeze. Also, you can connect ADO with Excel, which means you can make changes on either side, and changes could be synchronized. So for a summary, Smart Docs and Smart Report are built-in documentation and reporting feature. And so you can use it for different documents, for example, for the planning, intended use of the device, and risk control measures, validation, and evaluation of the overall risk analysis, and also the benefit risk analysis I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And so all the records and history that are produced during the risk management process flow are documented in a single environment. Also, we can even build links between documents. So for example, you can link the benefit risk analysis document with the overall residual risk document. So next on traceability in risk management. This is an important topic also. And you might already have a taste of how MR link your requirements, risk analysis, and testing and validation in one platform. And in addition to that, you can further leverage the traceability module for automated traceability. We provide two types of traceability metrics. The horizontal metrics, this can be used to gain a good end-to-end perspective of your design project. So for example, in this case, we can see workflow of the risk management of this product from your hazard work item to their linked RCMs, which RCMs are addressed by system requirements, and all the way to the test cases, and also to the bugs created during the testing process. Creating a matrix like this takes you around 15 seconds compared with hours or days in some other platforms. And also you can simply make one click to document this traceability in Excel or Smart Report format. And another type of traceability metrics is the intersection matrix, which is a 2x2 cross-reference chart between two types of work items. So in this case, this metrics help you confirm 100% of RCM coverage for your hazard work items. So for example, if now I want to build the link between this RCM2 and risk3, I can just directly do it from here. And again, creating a matrix like this takes a few clicks of a button. There will be no synchronization issue since any change you make is updated simultaneously. And also, I know that some of you are interested in knowing how different roles work in modern requirements. So here, under the permission tab, we allow you to create different groups. For each group, you can assign them different permissions. For example, who can create and make changes to the analysis documents, and who can baseline your risk analysis, etc. And also, in addition to that, Azure DevOps offers some great rule settings. So for example, you can define which fields are read-only to which group of users. So in the last part of this demo, I want to show you another 3 features which can be very useful in your risk management tasks. So the first one is the FAQ module. So you see some pre-existing questions here. Asking your team the right question can help you make risk management planning more specific and organized. And that could be very useful, especially in the risk management planning process. So here we provide templates with 3,000 predefined questions, including the ISO 13485 and ISO 14971. Of course, in addition to the questions we provide, you can create your own FAQ library. And for each question, we can link existing requirements or create new requirements or work items to make sure this question is addressed. And next is a baseline. So baseline is a snapshot of your work items or requirements at a point in time. Each design project should define a baseline strategy that includes defining the baseline in terms of creation, frequency, content, and documenting. At modern requirements, you can baseline a single work item, a query of work item, or a smart doc. So here I have baseline the overall risk analysis at a different point in time. And then I can compare these 2 versions, the 2 versions of baseline. And I see, some work items were changed, some were added or removed. And of course, we can drill down to individual work item to see the change details. For example, when the change occurred, who made it, and what is exactly the change. you see that a baseline is a vehicle for communicating changes to your interested stakeholders. And also, don't forget to document the changes. You can simply make one click to generate a difference report as part of your design and risk management history. And the last point I want to cover is that since now somebody has made some changes to risk 3, which is a hazard work item, so we might want to run a impact analysis. So all linked relationship of this risk 3 work item are now visualized here. And now you might decide to update the linked work items accordingly. So that is the end of my demo. And there are some other advanced features. For example, in smart reporting and also in the baseline, we have the merge and batch functionality. And you can always find good resources under the resource tab of our website and simply just talk to us. So thank you for listening, and I will hand it over back to Bob so we can take questions. Bob?
Thanks, Mel. And I'd certainly encourage you to type any questions that you have in the chat window, and we'll be happy to answer them. So there are a couple of questions that I see here. The first question, I think, has applicability to everyone. Are the categories of probability and severity configurable? And the answer that was provided is yes, all the properties of work items are configurable. The next question, is risk management process intended to reside in a separate project? And I'll ask Asif to answer that.
Yeah, so ideally, you don't want it to be in a separate project. You do want to have a single system of record from all different perspectives. And so ideally, it would be part of the same project because your information will be linked with other information in other silos. But so you end up with this sort of integrated silos, i.e. an integrated body of knowledge that is centralized under that single project. So unless there are other reasons to do it, as a matter of practice, I would say you should do it in one project.
Thanks, Asif. The next question is, what is the difference between baselining and versioning? I'll pass that also to Asif.
So versioning so there are actually 3 concepts. There's baselining, there's versioning of smart docs, and there's revision control of work items. So the revision control of a work item really is every time you make a change to a work item and save it, a new revision is created. So that's sort of a revision history. So if you go to the history tab, you see the history of your revisions. So that's at the work item level. A baseline is basically taking a set of work items, which might span work items that go over multiple smart docs, or they may even be work items that are not in a smart doc. All of that put together at a point in time would be a baseline. So it's just a snapshot in time. A version of a smart doc is similar to a baseline, but is particular to the smart doc at hand. So if you version a smart doc, you're literally creating a baseline of that smart doc, but we have done special handling of how we show the red line view of a smart doc for smart doc only. So baseline is a generic work item snapshot, whereas versioning of a smart doc is a version, but it's particular to the smart doc and got special handling. So one is at the work item level, the other is at a smart doc level.
Thank you. The next question is, why don't I see MatCal in my modern requirements user interface? I already have an enterprise license. Asif, could you answer that one, please?
Yeah, so MatCal is not a user interface thing. It's actually a service. So it's sort of a program that runs in the background. And when certain things change, it runs some calculations and update fields. So there is no UI for that. The configuration of MatCal today is done through an XML file. So you'll have to reach out to us and either we can give you the spec of how to write that XML file or we can do it for you. We are developing a user interface. So I think in the next couple of releases, you'll actually have under the admin area, the ability to define your own MatCal through the admin area, but there will not be a hub under the work item area with smart docs and traceability and so on. So it won't have an area like that, but it'll be an administrative thing. But just remember, that's a backend service that you can configure. And it is called MatCal, M-A-T-C-A-L. So it's like math calculation, but there's also logical operations and string operations you can do in there and so on.
Thank you. Next question is, how can I get the process template that Mal showed for compliance in this webinar? So there are two types of process templates available in Azure DevOps. One is an XML based, which we can share and download, and XML process templates are supported for on-premise Azure DevOps server installations. And then there are inherited process templates, which are supported in Azure DevOps in the cloud, Azure DevOps service. So certainly we can provide you with an XML-based version for on-prem, and we could provide you with an Excel spreadsheet so that you can build quite easily an inherited process template in Azure DevOps Service with the work item types that we showed.
Yeah, so Bob, this particular process template that Mao was using was built on the inherited process template. And as such, we can provide the specification for it in an Excel document so that you can spend an hour and then you can configure it to your needs.
So there's a next question is about, is MatCal also available for Azure DevOps services? And the answer is yes. The next question is, you said that ISO 14971 compliant risk work item templates are available for modern requirements upon request. Is there a charge for these? And the answer is yes, they're available. No, there is no charge for those. I think we've answered all of the questions. Oh. Let's see, any more questions? One more question here. I can see in Azure DevOps that it's possible to identify which artifacts a work item belongs to, but is there a way to query in Azure DevOps to see which smart docs a work item may belong to? Asif, over to you.
Yes, there is. So if you go to that particular work item, in the context menu of the work item, there's a menu option for MR artifacts. If you invoke that, you will see all the MR artifacts where that work item is referenced. That is to say, you'll see a list of smart docs that that work item is referenced in or used in. You will see a list of baselines as well as reviews that that particular work item is part of. So remember, context menu within the work item, go to MR artifacts and you'll see it. Actually, there's a couple of things I want to let people know as other people are typing in their questions. So one is that when you do have a risk or a hazard, and then you have link requirements to it, you can also use the suspect link functionality, where if the risk changes, then the mitigation requirements should be reassessed. So you can configure the suspect link functionality. And again, that is also a backend service that will update, that will put in tags and so on, so you know what needs to be revisited. So that's sort of a complementary thing to a impact analysis tool that Mao was talking about. The other thing that I want to mention is that one of the features that you might find interesting is we are implementing in our next release, so it's not out yet, but it's going to come out in the next release, is parameterized requirements. And what this means is that you can create a requirement template with parameters, and then for every product or component that you use that in, you can specify the values of those parameters elsewhere, so that when you see those requirements in Smart Doc or in your reporting, you'll actually see it with the appropriate parameter values. So it is another way of reusing requirements by creating a templatized requirement or risk or hazard, but it's certain specific values you might want to abstract out into parameters. So that's a feature that a few clients have asked for us, and we're working with some of our important clients today to get that implemented and out in our product. And it is expected it's part of Modern Requirements 2021.
A couple more questions that people have posted. One question here is, can you use successor and predecessor links instead of parent-child? Awesome.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So one, you can do that when you set up the Smart Doc meta template. You can configure it to actually use any link types. It doesn't have to be parent-child. And that's one of the beautiful things about Smart Doc, is that you can have any work item and any work item link type within the Smart Doc. So in fact, you don't even have to explicitly create the link type. Your meta template configuration will automatically create the right link types for particular templates. And of course, you can always do it from the work item itself. You can link to other things and use the predecessor successor link type. And in fact, when you generate your traceability matrix, again, the same thing applies. You can choose the link that you want to follow in order to create the traceability matrix. It doesn't have to be parent-child.
Okay, thank you. One more question that we have here is, do you have a V&V process template for modern requirements, traceability, and risk management? Asif?
So we do have several process templates that our clients in the medical devices and pharma and so on use, such as a compliance template, and the demo that Mao did today was a variant of that. So yes, we do have various things, process templates that you can use to get that work going, but ultimately you have to align that with your SOPs. But there's a good starting point for you to use or adopt that as your standard.
Well, I don't see any more questions listed. I'll give people a few moments to ask any final questions before we sign off. This has been great interaction. We really appreciate all your questions. And there is a question about the recording of this demo, and Breen will send an email out to everyone probably by tomorrow of the recording of this webinar. And it will also be posted to our website. So, oh, there's another one. Currently, the Azure does not allow creation of a tree work item more than 2 stages when the links are not parent-child. Is there a way to create such a tree in a query with predecessor successor links, for example?
Yeah, so there is a way to do that. So one, Microsoft has extended it in the tree query. You can actually choose to see a successor predecessor based hierarchy. So Microsoft has extended the query definition there. But what they don't allow is, let's say you had a level 1 work item connected to 2 through parent-child, and then it has a successor link, and then a tested by link, and then there's a related link to something. So if it goes zigzag through different link types, then you cannot create a query for that. However, when you use SmartDoc, you can create a hierarchy like that with different link types within a SmartDoc, which you can't do in a backlog. And also when you generate traceability matrix, if you do a horizontal trace matrix, you can actually zigzag through different link types and pull the data together and then generate a smart report on that, so that your report now has information that's connected through different link types in there.
Okay, thank you. So again, I don't see any other questions. I'll pass it over to Asif to summarize and conclude the webinar.
All right, thank you, Bob. So firstly, thank you, Mao, for putting this together. I think many of our clients and prospects will appreciate how to do risk management within modern requirements. So folks, if you have been working with us, you'll know that most of our R&D we do is based on your feedback. So as you're using modern requirements and you come up with good ways of doing things, please let us know. Nearly all of our R&D is done based on what you're telling us. So the parameterized requirements is something that's coming out. That's, again, a request from our clients. And so please do keep that coming. We are going to release MR 2021. Currently, the estimated date of that is end of March. And then, of course, as you know, our rollout is a staged rollout. So we stage it in a few places, and then we gradually roll things out. So that you'll see certainly you'll see it in April. All of you will. But do keep your requirements coming to us. We appreciate it very much. Folks, stay safe. And when you get a chance, please do fill in the survey we send out to see how useful you found this session and what other topics you want us to cover in the future. So with that, stay safe and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.